When we think of multiplication, we should think of grouping things, and dividing is the same. Dividing would be regrouping of things. So when we multiply fractions with a whole number, we want to talk about the whole groups. So when I read this statement, 1/3 times 5, that means 5 groups of 1/3, or conversely, we could do 1/3 of 5. But we're going to look at it from the perspective of 5 groups. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the 1/3 fraction and divide this number line into 1/3 pieces. So here is one group of 1/3. Here is a second group of 1/3. Here is a third group of 1/3. And we just look for 5 groups of 1/3. So we're going to end up at this point here on the number line. So this would represent 5 groups of 1/3. And we can see that that is going to be 1 2/3. And we can rewrite that as an improper fraction. We can count that as 5 1/3. And when we look at this, we can also remember that in fractions, we have our general rule that times on top and divide on bottom. Well, we have times 5 should go on top, divide 3 stays on bottom, so we end up with 5/3 as our ratio. When we think of division, we're really doing the same thing. We want to think of groups of 3. So we want to regroup a 1/4 fraction into groups of 3. So here's my 1/4 fraction on the number line. Okay, this represents 1/4, and I want to divide up or regroup it into groups of 3. So we're going to divide this into 3 groups. So we're going to go 1/4, or sorry, 1/3 of 1/4. Okay, this works out to be 1/12 here. And this would end up being 2/12. And we end up with our equivalent fraction, 3/12. Okay, so we divide it up into 3 parts. So this point here then represents the solution to our division problem. We take 1/4, divide it into 3 equal groups, and each group is going to be a 1/12 group. So when we divide by 3, we are dividing into 3 equal groups. We can also think of divide by 3 as 1/3 of the original amount, because when we think of divide should go in the denominator. So we end up with divide by 4, divide by 3, which is divide by 12. Again, this is the model of times on top, divide on bottom. So times 1 on top, divide 4, divide 3 gives us divide 12. So we want to see when we have a divide by 3, we can just put it as a fraction, 1/3, and then just multiply the fraction 1/3 times 1/4.